G'day. How are you getting on? I'm Mexted. I'm Managing Director of the International Rugby Academy, and I want to tell you what we're about to get into on the next 3 or 4 days, so if I could have your attention. I'll just give you some background on the Academy so you know who we are and what we're trying to achieve with rugby. So 13 years ago when the game went professional, when rugby went professional, New Zealand was rated number 1 in the world, and we're only a little wee country way down in the South Pacific with 4 million people. 100,000 rugby players, that's all we've got. In fact, you've got more rugby players in the USA than we have in New Zealand, just to put it in perspective. And I wrote an alliance agreement with NZRU, and the mission was to provide the best rugby academy in the world. If you set up the best rugby academy in the world, it allows you to produce the best 20-year-old rugby players and the best coaches in the world year after year after year. And that's what we've done for the last 13 years. And to do that, what we had to do is harness the intellectual property, which is the knowledge of all the great players as they retire from the game, get them to pass on their knowledge to the next bunch of players. So for example, I was a number 8, and the idea was to take everything that I knew and pass it on to the next half a dozen best number 8s in New Zealand who were about 18, 19 years of age. And so we've been doing that consistently, and nobody can understand why this little wee country all by itself is still the number 1 country in the world and holds the Rugby World Cup. Well, I can tell you it's no accident. It hasn't happened by chance. And we continue to produce really good rugby players, and the reason for that is that we get our best players get headhunted every day. So we've got the bloody Japanese down there with their yen, and all those poms, all those awful bloody poms with their pound, and all those shocking Europeans with their euro, tempting all our good young Kiwi boys who we want to keep at home and produce more young Kiwi boys, you know, because we haven't got too many, so we need to keep them at home. So the idea is that we're not going to keep them at home, they just keep on getting taken away from us, so we've got to be producing guys every year to take their places. And that's what we're doing. Now, a few years ago now, we decided that when we looked at our stats, it was quite extraordinary that after 10 years of operation, we found that 52% of all the graduates of the International Rugby Academy came from 30 different countries overseas. So they're coming from all over the world to go to this academy. And the simple reason was because we had the highest level of rugby expertise that anybody had in the world, and we were passing on knowledge. In other words, we were sharing knowledge, which we believe in. And a lot of more professional countries than ours don't believe in passing knowledge on. They keep it to themselves in little pockets, and they don't grow so much. So about 4 or 5 years ago, we started doing assignments offshore. And we actually did one in Glendale, I think it's nearly 3 years ago now, where we tried to run a high performance course. And the standard of the players and the standard of the coaches was a big step down to what we expected, to be frank with you. And I realised that one of the reasons was that you don't really have leading expertise here. And that's probably the thing that's holding you back. And there's no doubt about it, you've got the athletes, you've got the muscle, you've got everything that countries like ours don't have. And we went this morning to the stadium here in Dallas, which is fantastic, absolutely unbelievable. And it really does highlight to us how insignificant we are as a little country with a small number of people. So you've got the manpower really to be a great rugby nation. And you're probably all aware that last time rugby was in the Olympics, I think it was 1924, Dave, it was 1928, 1924, you beat France in the final. So you are the current holders of the Rugby World Cup. So that's all going to change in 2 years' time. Because the World Cup Sevens has been held in Rio de Janeiro, and that'd be a good place to go, wouldn't it? The coaches, all the coaches should go down there and have a bit of fun. But, and you know, at the moment I think you're ranked about 16th or 17th, so you've got an outside chance. So anyway, the Texas Rugby Union, I think, have been very progressive, and Ron Watson's put this together, and I'm delighted to say that we've brought some really high-level coaches with us to run this clinic. We're going to have 4 modules over tonight and Saturday and Sunday. And this is going to be intense. It's going to be full on. You're going to be rooted by the end of the night, and so will we be probably, and definitely tomorrow night and definitely the next night. But I say to you that if you apply yourself and you listen hard and you learn well, then you'll be so far ahead of your contemporaries who aren't at this course. And the coaches particularly have an opportunity to learn a hell of a lot. So what we've given you is a file each with the notes of what we're going to present to you over the next 3 days. And there's room on those notes for you to make notes. And at the end of each module, we're going to come back in here and have a review, into the room afterwards and have a review. That's the time for the coaches to ask the questions. So when something happens, you want to ask a question or something you see on the field, then make a note of it and ask the questions when we get back in. But we've forced a hell of a lot into a short period of time, and we're going to stick to time pretty much right through. Be a little bit of flexibility, there's a bit of ebb and flow, but we're going to try and stick to it, otherwise you're going to miss out on sections. It'd be nice to have a couple of extra days, but you haven't got the time and neither have we. So I want to introduce you to a couple of coaches, and this is absolutely leading edge knowledge because Jamie here is a former All Black like myself, and he's been coaching the New Zealand Māori team very successfully. He's been an ITM Cup coach, and now he's a Super Rugby coach for the Highlanders. The Highlanders is an area in New Zealand that has the smallest number of players, so it's particularly challenging for him in that area to keep up with the rest. And Jamie's a forward-based coach, although his knowledge is diverse. He'll be specialising this weekend on forward play. And Dave Rennie, next to him, is a guy I played with many years ago. And he'll say that he's younger than me, but he's not, because we played together, so he must be the same age.
That's good, Mr. Mexted.
And Dave's spent a lot of time with this academy over the years. He's also been an ITM Cup coach, and he's now the head coach of the Chiefs. And the Chiefs have won the last 2 Super Rugby contests. So he's won them back to back. And the Super Rugby contest is the most competitive contest in the world. There's nothing in the Northern Hemisphere that is as dynamic and accurate as the Super Rugby contest. Nothing anywhere near it, not even the same league. And so I reckon that means you've probably got one of the best coaches in the world here today. And so it's a great opportunity, I think, for the coaches and the players. Dave is back orientated, although once again his knowledge is diverse, and he'll be focusing this weekend on backs. I'll be focusing on facilitating and mental skills, mind management, which I think is an absolute vital part of performance in any sport, and in fact on and off the field. And I'm doing a module on selection, particular emphasis around the loose forwards, which is an area that I understand pretty well, and I've been a positional coach for the last 13 years in that area. So that's us. What we don't know is what you have. We have absolutely no idea. We have no preconceived opinions because we haven't got any idea what you're up to as far as players, and there may be a big range of player here, and there may be a big range of coach. And over the next 3 days, we'll find out how much we know, how much you know, and I'm absolutely sure by the end of it, you'll know a hell of a lot more, and you'll know whether you're ambitious and whether you want to go on and become a professional rugby player. And that's what it's all about, really, to work out whether you want it as a coach or as a player. And in the last module at the end, I'm probably going to ask that question, and we'll see what sort of answers we get. We don't want any bullshit. We can see through bullshit. Okay, so that's about it. We're going to move straight away now. So the way we'll do it is we'll introduce the subject in here, the theory side of it, which will range from about 15 to maybe 30 minutes introducing the subject we're doing, and then we're going to take the players out onto the field. The red and blue bibs are for backs, and the black and white bibs are for forwards. And those are boomerang bibs. They've got to come back to us because we've got to take them to Austin and to Houston following this camp. So we need those back, so we don't want anybody to pinch them. We'll hunt you down if you do. And so when we go out and introduce the theory side, we introduce the practical side, we have a break and we'll come back and we'll have a bit of a debrief at the end of each module with the coaches. And the coaches are really observing what we're doing with the players. So if you could refrain from asking questions at that time and just watch and learn and make notes, and let's talk about it later. So it's quite difficult to present to forwards and coaches. So what we're really going to do is try and present the theory to both of you, to both groups, but the practical will be with the forwards and with the coaches observing.